A big shout out to Lomography for sending me film for this video. You know, the fun thing about shooting film is, you can go crazy. I mean, you can go crazy even if you're not a film photographer. Just listen to Kanye West's new album. Okay, my point is, with digital cameras, any picture you take is going to look normal. But with film photography, you can shoot any film you want. And because film photography is a chemical process, there are some film stocks out there that yield colors which are unconventional to say the least. And Lomography film stocks are perfect examples. Lomography is a company that puts out quite a few film stocks, some of which yield crazy results. They do some weird shit with the film and the pictures speak for themselves. I've spent enough time shooting the run-of-the-mill, normal looking films like what Kodak has to offer, and I wanted to try my hand at shooting some of the more unconventional film stocks out there. So I decided that it's time to try something new and do another massive film stock review video. Today we're going to be shooting 5 Lomography film stocks. Okay, as your gynecologist would say, let's dive right in. We will begin with Lomo Turquoise. This film stock is what's known as a false color emulsion, which means that the colors you get on this film stock are not true to life. In terms of practical purposes, false color films can be used to emphasize differences between objects that are visually quite similar. So these film stocks are used in many scientific applications like camouflage detection, pollution monitoring, and many more. Some false color films are able to perceive wavelengths of light outside what the human eye can see, and hence can be used to detect certain anomalies more easily than traditional photographic solutions. That will be for another day when I can finally afford to make a video about Kodak Aerochrome. But for us film photographers, what all this means is that we have a bunch of film stocks that we can use to give our pictures funky color palettes. False color films are quite coveted for their artistic qualities and their ability to render special and surreal colors out of everyday scenes. In the case of Lomo Turquoise, blues become orange and greens turn turquoise, so skies will look orange like some post-apocalyptic movie scene, and trees and plants will look like some alien species. This film stock doesn't have a specific ISO, and instead they give you a range to choose from. That's what the XR in the name stands for, extended range. Since I'm not very good at making decisions, I decided to just go for the middle value of 200 and send it. But basically, the less light you give this film, the more grain there will be and the more funky the colors become. And of course, I'll be shooting all these film stocks on the trusty Hasselblad. I decided to go to the Green Corridor, a nature trail which is perfect for this film stock because the combination of foliage and crazy turquoise colors should be fun. And yeah, as the name promises, turquoise. More specifically, you can also see how skin tones just straight up turn blue, which is trippy as hell. I wouldn't shoot portraits on this film unless you're doing like a Smurf themed shoot, I guess. But yeah, an interesting look for sure. This one in particular is quite cool. It looks like an album cover for some experimental pop artist. And knowing I was shooting this film stock made me shoot some stuff that I otherwise wouldn't shoot, like this abstract tree shot. And I'm actually shooting on the A16 film back, which gives 4:3 aspect ratio images, but I cropped a lot of these to the 1:1 square aspect ratio because I think it's the best funky aspect ratio for some funky shots. Also, album cover. The Hasselblad has interchangeable film backs and I have 2 of them, so I actually had the other one loaded with Sunkissed 92, which is the second film stock we'll be looking at in this video. This film stock is all about nostalgia and the vintage look, like the pictures you took back in the summer of 69, or 92 I guess. I don't know why they picked that year specifically. Maybe it was to commemorate the founding of the Republic of Bosnia. Anyway, this film stock is an updated version of the older Lomo Color 92, the non-sun-kissed version. This sun-kissed version supposedly looks warmer and eliminates a blue color cast from your images. These are some shots that I took previously on the older emulsion, and the blue is quite a vibe actually. But let's see some images on the newer sun-kissed version. This tunnel shot is cool, I have 2 of them. And also this other one which I quite like. You can definitely see the retro vintage feel. The next day, I was out in Coney Island to shoot more Turquoise and Sun-Kissed. Before I finished the sun-kissed roll, I loaded the other bag with Lomo Purple, and similar to Turquoise, Lomo Purple is a film stock that washes out your images with a certain color. I'm sure you can figure out what color that is on your own. It's an interesting look for sure. Everything is just purple, and it definitely transforms your nature shots and gives you something new. But unlike Lomo Turquoise shots, which actually have a mix of other colors, the pictures from Lomo Purple just seem 100% purple. And I wanted to shoot some other stuff on purple as well, so I shot some portraits, and honestly that just made me realize that turning everything purple without much reason is just kinda random. Like, to be honest, I don't really know in what context would I want to turn all my pictures purple. I think the turquoise palette is interesting, but purple, I don't really know. But that's just my personal opinion. It's definitely new and fun though. Okay, let's talk about the most normal looking film stock out of the bunch. Lomo 800 is an 800 ISO film stock that's just that, an 800 ISO film stock. Which is lovely because there aren't that many ISO 800 options out there. Portra 800 is good but expensive, and Cinestill 800T is technically an ISO 500 film, so it's always good to have more options. So let's see what it looks like. First, some daytime shots. And yeah, it definitely looks good. For this one, the light was falling and I shot this slightly underexposed one, which explains the grain. But I also got this other one, for which I placed the Hasselblad on a ledge, and as you can see, when well exposed, Lomo 800 is actually pretty solid and clean. I might do a proper comparison between Lomo 800 and Portra 800 sometime in the future. I think that'll be an interesting comparison, especially because Lomo 800 is cheaper. But yeah, right now Lomo 800 is looking pretty good indeed, no complaints whatsoever. I'll also be shooting this film handheld indoors to maximize its potential as a low-light film. And yeah, the colors are clean. Once again, a little grainy because the setting was dark and I was handheld f4 with no tripod, but I'm still pretty happy with how these turned out. Last but not least, let's move on to Redscale, and as the name suggests, all your pictures come out red. Redscale film isn't something that's unique to Lomography, and Redscale is just a generic term that means you flip the film around. So instead of light hitting the emulsion in the correct order, it'll hit the red layer first, which explains the red washed out look. Lomography Redscale is the first purpose-made film that is purposely inverted during the production process for the express purpose of shooting Redscale images. And recently Harman also released their Harman Red, which is just their Phoenix emulsion inverted. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the red color palette and making everything seem like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I underexposed these images because I wanted to create a silhouette effect, and I think it looks pretty good, but I think some of these images could have used a bit more light. Redscale does not seem to capture a lot of shadow detail, so that means that your shadows are very quickly crushed to black. Just pure inky black, as you can see from some of these shots. If I were to go again, I'd shoot this film stock at ISO 50. Either ways, I initially was going to can these shots because of the lack of shadow detail, but I realized I can just lean into the abstract vibe and, you know, album cover. And I like how trying out these new film stocks pushes me to think and work differently, embracing what I would at other times consider as mistakes. Alright, so that was a sampler of 5 Lomography film stocks. They obviously make more than just these 5, but I wanted to try these 5 specifically, especially the funky color ones. It was fun to shoot them and try something new, and if anything, I'd say that it's a fun way to switch things up if you ever find yourself in a creative rut. Personally, I feel that if I'm going to be shooting something like purple or turquoise, then I'm going to have to shoot stuff that makes the colors make sense, if that makes sense. As I mentioned, I probably wouldn't use it in a portrait shoot, for example, unless that is the theme of the portrait shoot and the set design and the theme is all, you know, designed to be experimental and lean into the trippy vibe. Otherwise, it's just kinda strange, honestly. But obviously that's just my opinion and there's nothing wrong with shooting these films. If you enjoy shooting these films, that's amazing. There's nothing wrong with trying new things or having fun and goofing around. It's just I personally wouldn't do it all the time, like it's going to have to make sense. And that's the good thing about having these film stocks. It's something new and gives us film shooters more choice, which is always a win. Do note that there is no DX code printed on the 35mm canisters for all Lomo film stocks except Lomo 100, 400 and 800, so this is important if you plan to use these film stocks in a point and shoot. And as for the price, Lomo film stocks are actually pretty affordable. I got everything at around 15 Freedom dollars a roll, except for the Lomo 800 which cost an extra $2, and versus Kodak Portra films which are close to double that price per roll, I'm just really glad that we have these Lomography options lying around. So yeah, I'm a fan. I might try to incorporate more of their standard film stocks into my workflow. It's good stuff. Lomography as a company is pretty cool as well, and they are generally tighter with the film community. They give us cool stuff to shoot with at good prices, so yeah, support them, buy their film. Thanks for watching.